Welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we are setting the stage for a real maritime detective story. For decades, the Bermuda Triangle has totally captured our collective imagination, right? Conjuring up these wild images of supernatural forces, alien abductions, and lost dimensions. But today, we're going to put the rumors aside. We're looking at the hard data and historical records to uncover the actual truth.
Okay, let's just dive right in. We have to ask the ultimate question here. Is this legendary zone between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico actually cursed, or have we all just been sold a highly profitable lie? To find out, we need to strip away the science fiction and look at the actual science and history.
Now, this spooky myth is actually grounded in a very real, very tragic historical event. We're talking about the disappearance of Flight 19, where 5 Navy torpedo bombers vanished without a trace back in December of 1945. 14 crewmen, plus 13 more on a rescue plane, were lost. It's really the cornerstone of the whole triangle legend. But what actually brought them down?
Let's look at the science. Section 1. Hexagonal clouds and air bombs. Pivoting over to some hard meteorology, our very first scientific suspects are called microbursts. Meteorologists looking at radar satellites actually discovered these incredibly strange 20 to 55-mile wide hexagonal clouds forming right over the Bahamas. And unlike normal, randomly distributed clouds, these straight-edged formations act like literal bombs of air, generating violent microbursts that just slam into the ocean's surface.
The really crucial point to grasp here is just the sheer violence of these storms. These microbursts can generate winds up to 170 miles per hour. That is absolutely enough force to instantly swat low-flying planes out of the sky and completely capsize ships before the crew even has a chance to send out a distress signal. And we actually see identical deadly cloud formations operating exactly like this over in the North Sea.
Section 2. An acute case of gas.
So, the chronological sequence of a massive methane blowout is honestly terrifying. Oceanographic surveys show that there are huge quantities of methane hydrates sitting right on the seafloor in this area. If they get dislodged, they transform into expanding gaseous bubbles. If a ship happens to be sitting over one of these megabubbles when it breaches the surface, the water's density drops in an instant. The ship completely loses its buoyancy and just drops to the bottom of the ocean with zero warning.
And it gets even crazier. Australian researchers used fluid dynamics modeling and proved that if these methane bubbles are dense enough when they erupt into the air, they can literally rip the atmospheric lift right out from underneath a low-flying aircraft. They can even stall the engines or ignite the gas around the plane, leaving virtually no wreckage behind.
Section 3. Compasses and the Gulf Stream.
But hey, what if the real killer isn't some freak methane eruption or a crazy air bomb, but just the everyday mundane environment of the Atlantic? You see, the Bermuda Triangle is one of only 2 places on Earth, the other being the Devil's Sea off the coast of Japan, where a compass points to true north instead of magnetic north. Now, this compass variation is completely natural, but if an inexperienced navigator forgets to calculate for that shift, they can quickly find themselves miles off course and in serious, fatal trouble.
Add to that navigational hazard an incredibly fast-moving Gulf Stream. It basically acts like a rapid eraser for wreckage, sweeping debris miles and miles away from a crash site in just a matter of hours. Combine that with sudden, violent thunderstorms and all the treacherous, shallow water surrounding the Caribbean islands, and you've got a perfectly natural recipe for maritime disaster.
Section 4. A manufactured media mystery.
Now for the real twist ending of our detective story. It turns out the mystery is largely fake. Enter Larry Kusche. He was a university librarian back in the 1970s who essentially got tired of all the hype and decided to actually check the original ship logs, military accident reports, and historical weather data. He completely bypassed the sensational paperbacks and went straight to the primary sources to see if the legends matched reality.
And you won't believe what he found. Kusche discovered that writers were literally withholding data about massive hurricanes just so they could claim these were calm weather disappearances. They even included ships in the triangle tally that actually sank thousands of miles away in the Pacific Ocean. I mean, they invented spooky ghost ship details like untouched meals sitting in the galley and lazily copied each other's errors just to sell magazines.
So what about our hook, the infamous Flight 19? Well, they weren't abducted by aliens or swallowed by some interdimensional rift. Official records show the commander, who was recently transferred to the area, simply got disoriented, mistook the Bahamas for the Florida Keys, and stubbornly flew the wrong way until the planes just ran out of gas and crashed into a rough sea. It was a tragic human error, not a paranormal event.
Section 5. The final statistical verdict.
To put the final nail in the coffin of this manufactured legend, let's just zoom out and look at the hard data. The crucial takeaway here? Statistically, the Bermuda Triangle doesn't even rank in the top 10 most dangerous shipping waters in the world. When you account for the massive volume of traffic that passes through this area every single day, the accident rate is entirely normal.
If you want a real danger zone, you have to look over at the Coral Triangle in the Pacific Ocean, around Southeast Asia. Statistically speaking, this is where the most ships actually sink, which completely shatters the illusion that the Atlantic's Bermuda Triangle is uniquely deadly or magically cursed.
And because the actual data just does not support the myth, the US government doesn't even recognize the Bermuda Triangle as a real geographic area. There are no official maps that draw its boundaries. And you know the real reason we don't hear about constant disappearances there anymore? Once Kusche and others exposed the hoax, the public stopped buying the fake mystery, and the media stopped reporting totally mundane crashes as paranormal events.
I think the U.S. Coast Guard perfectly summarizes this. They noted that the combined forces of actual nature and human error outdo science fiction every single year. I mean, think about it. A 170-mile-per-hour microburst or a terribly lost pilot is vastly more deadly and way more real than an underwater UFO.
To wrap up our explainer today, I really want to leave you with this final thought. What is actually more dangerous to our understanding of the world, a paranormal vortex or a writer willing to manipulate facts just to sell a few magazines? Why is human nature so eager to believe in a manufactured, magical lie rather than digging in and accepting the fascinating, concrete truths of science and history? Just think about that the next time you hear a legend that sounds a little too spooky to be true. Thanks for learning with us today, and keep asking questions.